Hello friends, so today I am going to do Course 5 Understanding Discipline and Subject. In one of my previous video, I have already discussed about the understanding discipline and subjects where I talked about interdisciplinary subjects. So today's topic is emergence of various discipline from education. So there are two types of entity. Entity means organizations or existence. So what are those? One is biological, another is intellectual. Now what is this biological? Here you see in biological, think about man. Man used to satisfy. Bio means life, and so I'm talking about man. Man used to satisfy his needs. How? If he could satisfy his hunger, then he is not going to feel hungry. If he is going to protect himself properly, then he will be always feel protected. So he could do this himself through biological entity. Okay, but if I talk about intellectual, here I will take the example of man again. So now man satisfy their need, satisfy the thrust of mind. Intellectual means what? Which is related to brain. So a man, he will satisfy the thirst. It's thirst thirst of his brain, thirst of mind. How? By developing his thinking power. By developing his thinking power. How will he is going to think? He is going to think by his intellectual entity. Man has become acquainted with education. Man has become acquainted with what? With education. Why? In order to develop. First is to develop and to protect. What to protect is practical life. And then if you can develop, if you can protect, then only education will become an important part of your life. Now slowly by slowly, gradually, people realize the imperfection of indirect education. There are two types of education. One is direct education and another is indirect education. I have already discussed about it. Now this direct education, we are talking about indirect. Indirect education is a imperfection. It has some complexity. One expert, one experienced and trained person need for this. That means if you have to take direct education, then you need a trained person to educate you, not an untrained person. Not an untrained person. In case of indirect education is not wide. Whereas if I talk about direct education, it needs to be acquired from an experienced person. When it was civilization, when people have just been able to discover the script, then naturally direct education become valuable, because direct education means what? You are seeking the knowledge directly. This is your teacher from whom you are directly seeking your knowledge. In this way, by overcoming difficulties of indirect education is not being taken directly from a person. So this, if we do direct education from an experienced person, then indirect education can reduce, increase the depth of knowledge. You can increase your or enhance your knowledge. Can enhance your knowledge through direct education. So this is about our biological and intellectual entity.